Hello and welcome. I am Chakshu Roy and you're watching Laws in the Making on Rajya Sabha TV. Today on the show, we are discussing the Dam Safety Bill of 2018. Dams are critical infrastructure and are used for irrigation, supply of drinking water, power generation and flood moderation. The bill lays down the process for surveillance, inspection, operation and maintenance of dams in the country. To discuss the bill, I have on the show with me Mr. N.K. Mathur, Member DNR Central Water Commission, and Dr. P.S.N. Rao, Director, School of Planning and Architecture. The safety of dam is a matter of concern to the general public, as an unsafe dam can result in a loss of human life and damage to ecology, crops, homes and roads. The purpose of the bill is to prevent dam failure-related disasters and to provide for institutional mechanism to ensure their safe functioning.
In the last 50 years, India has invested substantially in dams and related infrastructures. India has 5,254 large dams. The number puts it at third place after USA and China. 447 more are under construction. Besides these, there are also thousands of medium and small dams. 75% large dams are over 25 years old. 164 dams over 100 years old. So far, India has seen 36 dam failures in different states.
The dam safety bill is urgently required. India has more than 5,700 big dams and more than 80% of them are more than 20 years old. More than 150 are more than 100 years old. And secondly, operational safety of the dam is also an urgent issue. So, which can happen, operational unsafe dam can happen to any dam. So, every dam is a potential source of disaster, and so it is very important there is a statutory law to ensure safety of the dam, both structural and operational safety.
India doesn't have a uniform law or administrative structure to ensure dam safety. Dam safety is the responsibility of Central Water Commission. The CWC operates through the National Committee on Dam Safety, Central Dam Safety Organization and State Dam Safety Organizations. None of these bodies have statutory powers and are only advisory in nature. In June 2018, the Union Cabinet approved a proposal to introduce the Dam Safety Bill in Parliament. It was intended to help develop uniform, country-wide procedures to ensure the safety of dams.
Dam safety mechanism in some form or other is already existing since around 3 decades. So, this bill will give the formal authority to various levels and formal responsibilities at various levels of the people. Everybody will be clear what they have to do to have the dam safety assurance for all the people, and once the information about the safety of the dam comes in the public domain, then people will also feel that they are safe even if they are living downstream of the dam or upstream of the dam.
The Dam Safety Bill 2018 is expected to empower dam safety institutional setups in both centre and states. It will also help standardize and improve dam safety practices across the country. The bill applies to all dams in the country that have a height of over 15 meters or height between 10 meters and 15 meters and subject to certain additional design and structural conditions.
Minister for Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Regeneration, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, introduced the Dam Safety Bill 2018 in the Lok Sabha on December 12, 2018. Professor Rao, let me begin the program with you. What is the importance of dams for a country like India, and what is roughly their contribution to different aspects of life, for people in the country?
Yeah, I think for a large country like India, which is by and large agrarian in nature, 2/3 of Indian population still lives in the rural areas. And whether you like it or not, agriculture is still a very, very important area of our Indian economy. We often say that more than 50% of the GDP actually comes from the urban areas. But then, having said that, rural areas do have their importance. So, dams are an essential part of our critical infrastructure. Dams are related not only to, dams are often looked at like civil engineering structures, but then more important than that, dams are important for agriculture, because they manage water, they channelize water. Dams are a very important resource for generating electricity. Hydroelectric power stations and dams are very intrinsically interrelated. So irrigation is a very major area. So how do you collect water, how do you store water, how do you generate electricity out of water, and how do you channelize water for various purposes. The amount of water that goes into the urban areas from the dams is very, very little. But nevertheless, dams have a very, very important role to play. And what is even more important is that human settlements often are removed in the construction process of a dam, number one. And number two, informally, there are several other settlements which come up downstream of the river and the dam channels and so on. So that is what we've seen in some of these recent events that we've had, recent disasters, wherein the water was released more than what it should normally be, and then there was a impact on the human settlements. So actually it is a very, very complex, very important, very significant area, both in terms of economy as well as for human life, daily needs, agriculture, electricity generation and so on. And therefore it is important that the entire system is properly structured, orchestrated, organized, so that we know in the event of some kind of an event, who is supposed to do what. There is not so much of a clarity at the moment.
There's clear lines of communication.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is necessary. And even more important is that a greater part of this country is in the high seismic zone activities, high seismic activity zones. So therefore that makes it even more important, because any kind of damage to the concrete structures, that will also lead to a lot of natural disasters.
Okay. Mr. Mathur, let me ask you this question. So, earlier you were mentioning that, the history for dam safety is not, related only to this bill. We've had earlier processes which currently ensure that dams across the country are safe. Can you elaborate a little more as to what is the current structure for dam safety in the country?
Dam safety has got 3 tiers. First thing is dam owner. A dam owner is supposed to keep the dam safe, keep the dam intact, operate it as per rule curves, and also have preparedness for the disaster. So that is the basic responsibility of dam owner. Then there is a state level mechanism. Actually, in fact, so far state is the large dam owner. So these rules are a bit mixed. But we have tried to have a separate dam safety organization. We have promoted separate dam safety organizations in the various states, which will oversee whether these protocols to be followed by dam owners, they are being followed or not, periodic inspections are being done or not. And then there is a central level mechanism. In central level mechanism, we have got Central Dam Safety Organization in Central Water Commission, and we have got a National Committee on Dam Safety, in which all the state dam safety people are members. And then at the central level, we emphasize more on policy formations. What should be the policy of dam safety? How these things can be taken? Then technological support if the states require, and uniform guidelines to be followed, development of the uniform guidelines to be taken. So that way all the 3 layers of dam safety work in tandem.
Okay, so you mentioned that a majority of the dams are at the safe level, are at the state level. So what is the need for having a law by Parliament on the issue of dam safety?
Various dams are with the state government, but nowadays private operators are also coming. Secondly, the role of state government as a state dam safety organization and as dam owner may have sometimes some sort of conflict of interest type of thing. Secondly, there is a need to have uniform policies, uniform procedures, so that the people can be assured of the safety of the dam.
So dam in state A versus dam in state B should follow same processes for ensuring operational and structural safety.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the reason for a parliamentary law. Okay, Professor Rao, what are the different issues that are involved, when it comes to dam safety? You mentioned that, we are in a high seismic zone. So threat of an earthquake could potentially, result in a damage to a dam structure. Somebody else was mentioning the problem of silting. So what is it that operationally requires regular maintenance for a dam? It's clearly not a build it and forget it kind of a model.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a one-stop solution that you've dammed a river and then it's over. There are gates which are operating. There are valves which are operating. There's water to be released at different points in time. There are interstate river water agreements. So therefore, and there's also recreation and tourism which is also associated with dams. And we've also seen many tourist accidents happening near dams and so on and so forth. Of course, maintaining the mechanical structures, electrical structures, turbines, maintaining the civil structure of the dam itself. Some are earthen dams, some are concrete dams. So all this requires some kind of a routine maintenance which will happen at different points in time. One could be a 6 monthly, one could be a quarterly, one could be annually, one could be once in 5 years and so on and so forth. So therefore you need to have systems, protocols, procedures in place so that all operators maintain dams in the same manner, in the uniform manner. So therefore all these are required to be done across the country, because we have a very large number. It was just now mentioned, more than 5,800 odd dams, and then there are another 700 odd dams. So it's a huge number out there.
Mr. Mathur, very briefly before we head into a break, what according to you are the larger causes or the most often causes for operational safety when it comes to dams?
There is a large variability of the rainfalls. So sometimes the conservation use of the water conflicts with the flood moderation role of the dam. Okay. And therefore sometimes dam owners try to maximize the gains from the dam by filling it slightly earlier. So there is no problem if there is a information available how much water is coming and how much water is going. But for that a mechanism has to be in the place which we call operation and maintenance manuals. Okay. So the manuals should be in the place. That is the thrust which we are giving in the Dam Safety Act also.
Okay, great. It's time for us to head into a break. When we come back, we will discuss provisions of the details of the different institutional authorities that are being established under the bill. Welcome back. On the program today, we are discussing the Dam Safety Bill of 2018. The bill addresses issues concerning dam safety. This includes regular inspection of dams, emergency action plan, and comprehensive dam safety review. It lays the onus of dam safety on the owners of the dam and sets up institutional authorities at the center and state level to ensure their safety.
The bill provides for a National Committee on Dam Safety that will evolve policies to safeguard dams. It will also analyze major dam failures and suggest changes in practices. The committee will be chaired by the chairperson, Central Water Commission. Other members will be nominated by the central government. They include 10 representatives of the central government, up to 7 representatives of state governments, and 3 dam safety experts.
Well, that remains to be seen. So far, the bill seems to be focusing on creating the institutional framework for a systematic way of looking after dams. But as we've seen with a lot of similar government policies or attempts, sometimes it just becomes another level of institutions, layer of institutions that get set up, but they don't really translate into any real action on ground. So whether or not this is effective will actually lie on the implementation, on how well it is implemented and how much responsibility people at the ownership level, the dam owners, take. Also enforcement. If there is a lapse, unless there is stringent enforcement, this will really be just another government department that will be added.
The bill provides for a National Dam Safety Authority. It will be headed by an additional secretary rank officer appointed by the central government. The authority will act as a regulatory body that can discharge functions to implement policy, guidelines and standards for dam safety. It will also liaison with state dam safety organizations and owners of dams to standardize safety data and practices. It will also provide technical and managerial assistance to states and state dam safety organizations and will maintain a national level database of all dams in the country with records of major dam failures.
Each state is supposed to have a state dam safety committee and a state dam safety organization. The functions of these are not very clearly defined, and more worryingly, the schedules 1, 2 and 3 which describe the functions of them have been kept out of the bill, which means they can any time change without going back to the parliament. So this is a basic lacuna of the description of the organization. The second lacuna is that there is need to be independent people in the functioning of each of these bodies. In fact, 50% of the members should be outside the government and people who have independent track record. And thirdly, see, dam safety is essentially for public interest. So the people who are at the risk, which means every bit of information about the dam safety should be in public domain.
At the state level, the Dam Safety Bill provides for a state committee constituted by the state government. It will ensure proper surveillance, inspection, operation and maintenance of all dams in that state. Every state is also expected to establish a state dam safety organization manned by officers with sufficient experience in dam safety.
The implementation of a bill like the Dam Safety Bill really depends on its operation onto the ground. Mr. Mathur, let me start with you. So, earlier in the program we discussed there are current mechanisms which are now being giving statutory provisions. How robust are the current mechanisms and how are the current mechanisms different from the mechanisms provided in the bill?
Dam safety had been in the focus right from the 1970s when we had a big failure of Mathur Dam. So from then onwards, we are building brick by brick the institutions which are responsible for dam safety. So all these institutions which are listed in this are being built brick by brick for last 30 to 40 years. Some in some formal way or informal way they are existing. They know what to do also. And we are just giving the statutory powers to all these authorities. National Dam Safety Authority which is proposed at present is working only as Central Dam Safety Organization, which is only a part of the Central Water Commission. So this will become an institute in itself. So that way we are only giving the strength, robustness to the existing mechanisms, which will then be more effective than current.
Professor, let me ask you, as an academic, what do you think is the role for a national authority whose job is to lay down guidelines, whose job is to lay down policies regarding important issues just like dam safety?
Yeah, see, before I answer that, I think I must mention that it is often said that in India we have one too many laws, but then more implemented in breach than otherwise. But nevertheless, there are some areas where we don't have laws, and there are probably some areas which are over-regulated. So this is probably an area where we don't have a law in place, and I personally would welcome this law. That's the first point I want to make. But having said that, I must quickly hasten to add that it is very easy for us to put so many things on paper, but then when you actually put it on ground, then there are so many different agencies who have to actually swing into action in the event of some kind of a disaster. In terms of protocols for routine maintenance and so on and so forth, yes, there can be protocols, there can be manuals and so on and so forth, and well, you can have a national agency who can roll out all these over a period of time, and somebody would do an oversight to ensure that these are actually happening. But in the event of a disaster, then actually several people have to come together. So a whole lot of coordination has to happen, and in India we have a large number of states. We have such a large number of dams, and there are some private operators also, as Mathur Sahab was just now mentioning. So now I see the role of the central agency as an organization which has to coordinate a very large number of starting from the district collector and the public health engineering department, the irrigation department, and going up to several others, and the NGOs and so on and so forth. So I think I see that as the greater challenge than the mundane thing of making these manuals and so on and so forth.
Okay. So Rao Sahab has pointed out as to coordination is key, but what is also key is holding responsibility, and the law provides for certain punishments if there are transgressions or if the law is not followed. But after a law is not followed, it results in a fair bit of damage when it comes to a breach of a dam. So what do you think are the mechanisms, Mathur Sahab, which are there in the bill to ensure that there is some kind of an action plan, there are manuals that are maintained for dam maintenance?
Firstly, any dam owner who is deriving benefits from the dam will never want that the dam should be unsafe. So the larger dam operators like state government and NHPC and NTPC or any of these organizations or Bhakra Vyas Management Board, they already have a very robust mechanism in place. And similarly, there are some smaller players which are coming into this field, or the private players. For them, we have to lay down these procedures. They should be aware of what is to be done and what is not to be done during the operation or during the disaster. So broadly, we are focusing on laying down the procedures and presuming that everybody will follow if it is known. Still, if there is a breach, there is a provision. Generally, these provisions are for obstructing somebody doing their work. So if somebody is obstructing doing their work, there are some provisions of penalties, financial as well as criminal.
Okay. Professor Rao, what is the role of independent experts? I've looked at the provisions of the bill. A number of these bodies have government representatives, they have representatives from the Central Water Commission. But what is the role of independent experts who look at dams or who do work on dams?
I think independent. There is a provision here for up to 3 dam safety experts. Now again, these 3 dam safety experts, there is a possibility that they could probably come from one of these government departments or maybe ex-government. Nothing against the government, because they are there and they understand the systems and so on. But then independent NGOs, independent experts, independent researchers who have been looking at it from a different perspective altogether, I think they do have a great role to play here. Particularly even the town planning departments in various state governments, because you have small settlements, you have villages, you have all those kinds of things which are there downstream the rivers, and then in the event of any thing happening, then they are responsible as to where we should permit new settlements coming and so on and so forth. So I think not only the non-governmental, but also some of the other governmental which are not mentioned in the legislation proposed, they should also play a part here.
Okay. Mr. Mathur, very briefly, there are some states, for example, I think there was a state government down south which has passed a resolution that the government should hold the dam safety bill in abeyance. So do states have some kind of a concern with respect to this bill?
Most of the states are in support of the dam safety bill. They have been consulted through National Committee Dam Safety meetings. There are a few states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu. They have got some apprehensions. It is because of a peculiar nature of a few dams which are owned and operated by Tamil Nadu but are located in Kerala. So Tamil Nadu wants that their safety mechanism should be looked after only by Tamil Nadu. So that is opposed by Kerala. Kerala may like to have their safety mechanism with them. So instead of favoring one or the other, we have provided that National Dam Safety Authority will look after the work of State Dam Safety Organization for these dams which are owned by one state and located in other state.
Okay. And final comments from you, Professor Rao, about what do you think about the provisions of this bill?
Yeah, I think by and large the provisions of this bill are quite okay. I have gone through the draft of the bill. But then I would certainly like to see more of the town planning representation here. I would also like to see the independent experts, NGOs also playing a role here. And ultimately the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So you can write so many things on the paper, but then you need to actually implement it down the line. So that coordination is most important.
Mr. Mathur, very briefly as to what do you think,
I fully agree with him, and we are making the process of expert selection in the dam safety panels also transparent. We will be making a panel of experts, so people will apply for that, and then
that's how they'll come onto the panel.
And then they will come on the panel from the people who are outside the government can also
be part of
post their eligibility for the panel, and we can take them on board. Further, there will be a whole set of data and reports which will be generated out of the dam safety mechanisms. That will be in the public domain, and all NGOs can do their
analysis and study. Great. That's all that we have time on the show for. Thank you, Mr. Mathur and Dr. Roy, for joining us in this discussion. It is time for us to end the show. You can watch our shows on the RSTV page of YouTube. We will be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV.